I lost everything, and I'm still losing everything. I can't even sleep, and I could have lost my life. They didn't care about me, and they still don't care.
Some of the worst days of my life have come out of this. After I retired, I myself had a suicide attempt.
I think the only way to fix a system like policing, which has such a complicated and horrible history in this country, is to burn it down.
You may think you know what happened 5 years ago in Minneapolis when George Floyd was killed in front of the little store where he tried to pass a $20 counterfeit bill. That ripple effect changed the country and led to an unprecedented reckoning over police brutality and racism that seeped into many corners of our daily lives. You may also remember the city going up in flames, while at the same time hearing TV news anchors call the mobs peaceful protesters. But there was nothing peaceful about the protests or what's happened since May 25, 2020. Photojournalist Matthew McDermott and I spent a week in Minneapolis, where we found a city divided and traumatized from every angle. Everyone agrees that George Floyd should not have died at the hands of police, but they disagree on how it all played out.
The year before I got here, we had more shooting victims in 1 year than we had total number of police officers.
Brian O'Hara came from Newark in 2022 to be sworn in as Minneapolis' new police chief. He told us he walked into a city still in the throes of a nightmare.
There has been an unbelievable amount of trauma from the destruction of the city that immediately followed and the explosion of violence there. Half of the police officers that were here in 2020 had left. It was crazy.
O'Hara also said he's never had to deal with the extreme liberalism he's seen in Minneapolis.
Here, it's very, very ideological, and a lot of times it's as if reality and facts just can't get through the filter. It has a very detached, bourgeois liberal mentality about a lot of things. I feel like it's bizarre.
But for some, what happened here is literally black and white. They believe police deliberately murdered George Floyd. Lisa Kelly founded Memorialize the Movement 5 years ago to use art as a way to commemorate both George Floyd and the Black struggle here.
For me, George Floyd was my father, my brother, my uncles. But I think what I realized as I was out protesting and participating in mutual aid efforts is that I really didn't know the people here that well. And so the last 5 years for me personally has been an exercise in getting to know the people and understanding who they are and what they need and how powerful they can be when they come together. And that's been really beautiful.
Do you think that they, in a way, deliberately killed him?
Yes. When you think about the circumstances, and if you've seen the video of George Floyd's murder, then you know the circumstances surrounding his murder. I use that word intentionally. He used an illegal restraint tactic on George Floyd. You're not supposed to put your knee on someone's neck, blocking their windpipe. There is no way you can look at that video or the circumstances surrounding his murder and say, oh, this was a mistake, this was an accident.
But there are also many Black people in Minneapolis that are also angry about how things went down after the protests. Lachelle Cunningham, a Black business owner near George Floyd Square, says life did not get any better for people of color in the Twin Cities.
What we saw was this big rush towards equity and inclusion and diversity and all of those things. But look how fast 5 years later we're disinvesting in all of those things. All of that money that was invested, this community should look different.
Royce White, a former professional basketball player and a Republican candidate for U.S. Senate from Minnesota, told us, as many others did, that he believes that many in the mob of protesters back in May 2020 were flown in from somewhere else.
The strangest thing was to see the activists that stepped up to speak. Right, we got all this national coverage, and there were these people who were representing our community, my community, that I had never seen before.
Where were they from?
They were imports. They came from these liberal colleges that, whether it was nonprofits or, some type of connection with some type of corporate entity, NGO, whatever it was, these people were positioned here.
They were only trying to gain fame off of George Floyd's name. People were here were trying to gain money off of George Floyd's name by selling shirts, hats, and things. That's all they came here to do. People were coming into town, setting up stuff over here to make money while we're sitting here suffering like collateral damage while they're out here, coming with these fake protests. It was so much of it that it made me so sick.
Where was Black Lives Matter?
I never seen Black Lives Matter over here when this was happening. Honestly.
Ever?
Ever. They never came on this side, whoever they were.
Edwin Reed, who owns a car detailing business in George Floyd Square, is so upset about what he said has been skyrocketing crime in Minneapolis, especially in his area, that he and other business owners are suing the city.
There were drive-by shootings. It was rival gangs, all kinds of stuff that was going on down here. And you can see the bullet holes in the buildings here, right there. Yeah, and then bullet holes down here. It was really, really bad. Bullets were hitting my door.
Well, this is crazy. And the cops wouldn't come?
Cops wouldn't come when we called them. They said that they wasn't allowed to come to this area and that it was a no-go zone, is what they told us.
The very people here in this area where George Floyd was killed were left defenseless. It wasn't until 3 years later, people here tell me, that the cops started showing up. And those 3 years have left the business owners and the residents here, in many cases, traumatized.
I lost everything, and I'm still losing everything. I can't even sleep. I'll go to bed late because they were trying to break in my shop. People were getting killed in front of me, and I could have lost my life. They didn't care about me, and they still don't care. They're downtown telling us, "Oh, you guys didn't do. You guys, oh my God!" But yet, 444 officers got paid PTSD leave, and they started this. You guys started this. I had nothing to do with what happened here, and I'm losing everything. My business is not the same. Look at me. Look, it's a nice day, and I have one car in here. We're used to having 6 and 7 cars. We usually are a $30,000 a month, $40,000 a month business. I've not seen my business turn around since.
While we were standing in the middle of the George Floyd Memorial, Reed caught sight of George Floyd's aunt, Angela Harrison, and angrily confronted her about what he said was money that should have gone to local residents and business owners, but instead, he said, was taken by NGOs, nonprofit governmental organizations. The Floyd family got a $27 million settlement from the city.
Let me tell you something. When they gave away the $50,000 that your family was handing out to the businesses to help them, you know how many people were up there that wasn't even from this area? There was 72 people up there trying to take that money from all the businesses. We didn't get a dime. None of us had got a damn dime of that money to help us. Did you know that? Oh my God. Y'all didn't even know that. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to tell you.
They wouldn't know that. They wouldn't know that.
We know that because I was there when it happened. That's what I'm trying to tell you. I was in the room when they all showed up, all these white folks that we'd never even seen over here, asking for the money that your family was putting down for these businesses. They took that money from us. We never got a dime. We never got help.
I have a lot of sympathy, but people are forgetting that COVID also hurt the businesses. Not just
COVID didn't hurt my business.
We're gonna talk off record.
Yeah.
We're gonna talk off record.
All right.
For her part, Angela Harrison says she still holds nice memories of her nephew, George Floyd.
You all know that my nephew had a very colorful lifestyle. He had challenges with sobriety. He went to prison. But with all that, it didn't take the man he was inside. He tried to change his life around. He was doing the best that he can. But overall, when you strip everything, he was about humanity.
Police had to evacuate and abandon Minneapolis' 3rd precinct when mobs of protesters outside trapped them inside and padlocked the gates. What happened here, depending on who you talk to, was either poetic justice or a horror for police officers, with an absolute crazed mob outside. The mob had padlocked the only entrance out. The officers, more than 50 of them, were all trapped inside. Dave Velasquez was a veteran police officer at the time he was trapped inside the 3rd Precinct as it was being beset by the mob.
So it was really a mob scene. You were surrounded by a mob, and they were trying to get to you and I guess presumably kill you, or is that an exaggeration?
That's exactly what we thought. A lot of us were in fear that if we got locked in there and they get a hold of us, we're going to get tortured.
So you really thought you were going to be tortured and killed?
Absolutely.
Shots being fired all around us. It really was a war zone. So for the media to have painted it as peaceful protesting, it really made me angry when I started watching some of the replays of the news and stuff, because there was nothing about what we went through that was peaceful.
Kim Lund Voss was a lieutenant at the 3rd Precinct when it was evacuated.
To have spent almost 40 years in this line of work and then be told that I can't go out and help save the neighborhood that my second home is in. I know the guys that I worked with feel horrible, horrible guilt to this day because we failed and we didn't take care of our neighborhood.
After everything was done, one of my partners was in the Marines, and I told him that I needed him to make me feel a little bit better about what had happened. And he said, Dave, you know what? We were treated better in Fallujah. And that hit.
Velasquez is still hurting and admitted he tried to end his life at one point.
Some of the worst days of my life have come out of this. Shortly after I retired, I myself had a suicide attempt. It still affects all of us.
What is your take on the 3rd Precinct? The cops left to evacuate and the protesters moved in and burned it. Do you feel all that was justified?
Yes, I do. I don't think that it is possible to fix or restructure or rebuild a system that has always been broken. I think the only way to fix a system like policing, which has such a complicated and horrible history in this country, is to burn it down.
As I departed Minneapolis, it was clear to me that even now, 5 years after the death of George Floyd, the city is still figuratively burning. The people are still angry, and the wounds of May 25, 2020 may never truly heal.